What's happening? Andy here. I am joined today by my friend Steve Sauer. How are you, Steve?
Great, Andy. How you doing today?
I am awesome. Good to see you, Steve. You just received a bump up in your title. You are now the Chief Revenue Officer of Toshiba. For the last bunch of years that I've known you, you've been the president of TBS, Toshiba Business
Yep.
Solutions, and I wanted to take some time and bring you on and talk about your new gig, your new role, and see what's happening.
Yeah, it's been a whole 4 weeks, and I'm just trying not to break anything right now.
Well, the irony here is we're probably only about 10 miles apart at the moment. I can see the sun finally did come out on my end, so I don't know if we're getting there. It's been one of
Another
those
great rainy day in Rochester.
oh, it's just a gross day outside, but right now it's at least sunny. Um, let's start back when I originally met you. You're working here in this Rochester office. This is a branch of Toshiba. It didn't always used to be a branch. You were a dealer, and then they were acquired by Toshiba. We'll talk about those early years in a minute.
Yeah.
Just want to catch up to speed. So you run the local branch, which is, I think, if I'm correct, one of the main parts of the region. Or can you explain how does the branch situation set up?
Yeah, I run TBS. We have 4 different regions. We have regional presidents that run each region. They report into me. This is one of our hub offices, if you will. This is the headquarters for what we call the North Central region, which actually covers the Midwest, Northeast. I used to run this. I became president of TBS, and April 1st, I took on this role.
All right, well, we'll get into this role, but the TBS thing was always kind of cool, and then it got really cool for me personally a couple of years ago because we had a Slawetsky work in there. So you were kind enough to give Jake his official start to
That's
the
right,
industry.
marketing, yeah, for Sally Thornton, yes.
Yeah, Jake worked for Sally and was coming into those offices. Jake doesn't have any idea that those are actually probably the nicest, some of the nicest offices Toshiba has. That's a pretty new building at this point, and you had just redone it when I had gone over a couple of years ago. So, really,
they let
really
me
nice.
sitting here. Technically, I work out of Orange County.
Yeah.
So, I have an office here. Actually, nobody in this office reports to me. So I work out of my house, this office, and then I travel back and forth to Orange County.
Okay, so Toshiba's got this big branch system, dozens of locations all across the country, and it's all run for some reason out of Rochester, New York, which for Jake was great.
Yes.
He learned a ton working for Sally, working in the marketing department, and obviously very, very great start for his career. And so you did that for how long? How long have you been president over there?
I was president for 3 years, and before that, I had a business that I sold back in 2004 to the Toshiba, and I basically started off running my old business, which was called Business Methods.
BMI. Yep.
BMI. Sold that in 2004. Ended up staying and helping them buy different companies and roll them in to tabs, which really the division now is TDS. And started off in New York State, and then took over the New England area, and then Michigan, and then the Midwest. So I was running the largest region before I took on the president role for TBS.
So TBS was quite a story back in the day for some of the younger people, maybe not remember. Just acquiring mad all over the place and just grew like crazy, much like some of the mega dealers are doing at this point.
Yeah.
I do remember you guys as BMI as business methods, and I remember my dad going over doing research and presenting to you and to Tim O'Neill, who's recently retired. And so here we are today, and you're a dealer at heart. You've been running the branches, which in some ways is the enemy for the dealers and some of their minds, right? And now you're the chief revenue officer. So you're back into the dealer world. You're working for Larry. You're working with Bill. What's it like? You said 4 weeks in. What's the role going to be? What are you doing?
One of the things I like to say is Larry used to be a lot nicer to me when I was a dealer than working for him. Actually, he's very nice to me either way. But
Larry's nice to everybody.
Right now, I obviously know the TDS space real well, and it's still part of my responsibilities. But spending a lot of time just getting to know the people, processes on the dealer side. Going to, actually, you're going to be down in Docu World next week. Going to see a couple
This
people.
week. This
Not
week.
this week. I'm sorry, tomorrow.
Yeah, it flies. It's this week, and I'll see you
Yes.
guys. It's funny. I'm gonna have to see all these people from Rochester down in Orlando, but
Yes.
that's how it works. I'll be there. I'll be there. So keep going. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And starting to meet dealers. So ultimately, I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm not trying to break what works, because I think our relationship with our dealer community is really healthy and good. So ultimately, just trying to learn. I'd ask you, what do you see out there that dealers think makes a good OEM partner? I mean,
Oh, geez. Now I'm getting interviewed. I didn't study for this.
yeah,
Honesty. That's the main thing these guys want. They just want to know what's going on. You've had, especially coming out of that pandemic, and
yeah,
they just want to know what's coming, what to expect, and good pricing, right? That's
yeah,
that's the key to it.
yeah.
Just give them good pricing and be straight with these guys, and they'll love you. They'll love you.
Yeah, I think you hit on something. I think why we're a good partner comes down to being authentic, transparent. I remember when I was a dealer, I always was wondering what was behind the curtain. And if you don't give dealer partners enough information and you're not authentic, they start to make up their own stories about what's behind the curtain. So I
Yeah.
think one of our strengths is, Larry's a very authentic, transparent person. I'm the same way. We have a good team in place, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have really good relationships with the dealers.
Well, just I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about Larry. Just the one thing is, just dealers love him.
Yeah.
You've got good dealers out there. You got a big one in New York, LDI. Changed their name now. I can't even remember what their new name. LDI Connect, I think, is what they're calling themselves. But I mean, just dealers all over. My old boss is now, they were with DOP, which got acquired by Nauticon. So I think and that was another of my old bosses. So Gary and all these guys are Mark Durlam. If you know Mark, he's the sales manager down there at DOP, which is now Nauticon. But that's where I started my career for these guys.
Really?
We were Toshiba back then, but this little industry of ours, if you don't get out when you're young, you're never getting out.
Yep. And I'm asking a lot of questions and taking it slow.
So what do you think? Dealer visits? Are you going to be involved in dealer council? Is that having anything to do with you, or how are you going to get your feet wet and get reimmerse yourself back in this world? What's working for you?
Getting on the road. I'm going to have to get on the road.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Nauticon next month. I have a meeting when we're at Docu World this week with 2 separate dealers. So ultimately, I'm going to have to get on the road, and that's part of the gig.
Well, the good thing,
I'm excited because there's a certain energy about meeting and interacting with entrepreneurs. I'm afraid I'm going to get the itch again. I want to get back in the game, but that ship sailed. But the energy, not only with our dealers, frankly, with all dealers in this industry, they're resilient. There's a lot of headwinds in our industry, but I can't think of a group of entrepreneurs that they're set up well to weather these headwinds. So creative, ton of energy. I'm not worried about them.
well, you shouldn't be, and you have a great crew of dealers. Toshiba is known for it, and frankly, what you're saying it's true. I mean, that we just have a weird community of resellers. They tend to just be really great. Most of them seem to be great people, and they, unless they're selling against each other, they tend to get along really well.
Yes.
Most of them are in peer groups with each other, and just the camaraderie in our industry is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Those peer groups, I have had the opportunity to run some multiple businesses. This industry, better than any industry I've seen, work well together, share best practices. I remember when I was a dealer and I'd go to those meetings, my team back home would hate it. I'd come back with a pad full of new ideas. People would be nervous, tweaks and changes and renewed energy. I was a linear dealer, and we had a great group. One, it was a small dealer group. There was like 30 or 40 dealers. None of us competed with each other. So there was constant, if I ran into a problem, I'd pick up the phone and, call one of my counterparts.
So that is one of the great things. I just got back from a peer group meeting, an American co-op meeting over the last few days, and just the ideas that bounce back and forth, and the common problems that they get to address. That I mean, for example, one of the dealers did a presentation on company theft, and as soon as he did, it comes out, right? Everybody in that room was dealing with some and very large scales, some and very small scales. But we're dealing with some people with six-figure theft, some with more than that. And so how did you catch them? What did you do? These guys actually somehow, I don't exactly know how they figured it out, but it had something to do with using CEO Juice, their data analysis, and they saw anomalies, some things, double receipts and sneaky stuff, not just putting your hand in the till and grabbing some money or selling stuff out the back. This was a little more complex, and it took a little bit of technology to catch them. But you look back over 5 years, and some of these guys lost a lot of money, and you've got to protect yourself, and so but this is the kind of thing where to your point, you turn around to your friend next to you and you say, has this happened to you? What do you do?
I agree. I actually came into this industry from corporate banking industry, so I knew nothing, in terms of the copier print business, nothing. And how I got up to speed was working with other dealers and being educated. And back then there was the Johnson model and the power of that. And I kept saying, I was like, what do you mean? There's this model that it shows you how to be successful, and
so it's fun. It's funny you say that. That Johnson model, he's still doing it. Hey, and Johnson, they're still doing it. It's used by all those peer groups, some more than others. Some actually share the data. I think that's what you're even alluding to, right? They all pool their data. They run analysis. Nobody gets to see whose is what, but they can see, and they divide it down by brand and I mean, just to be able to see your metrics and see where you're off, right?
I couldn't believe it coming, from a different industry. And I actually had, I had John Hay and John Hansen.
Yep.
They were on a retainer. I had them on retainer, which was very, very helpful.
Those guys they made a lot of millionaires in our world. They made a lot of very rich. They bought a lot of boats, a lot of planes.
Yes, they made my ex-wife a millionaire.
It's you just say it made your ex-wife a millionaire?
Yeah.
All right, that's the line of the interview. We're done. That was it.
No, but they are very powerful. They're very powerful.
They are, and they're still doing it. And I don't know what happens. Tom Johnson, I think, is working in the background on that as well. And so hopefully that goes on for as long as it can. But what a resource, what a tool for these guys. And but just the best part of it is, I mean, it's great to have them come in and do that and analyze your business, but then to share it at that next level, which some of them do. So you've got a few months to sort of, make the rounds and start visiting some of the dealers, maybe here and there, get your meetings in, and then you're on, right? Then you're going to be in front of everybody in your new role. You're going to be at the dealer meeting, not lurking in the background like you've done for a while now. You're going to be probably up on stage or in front of people. And so are you excited about this? You haven't had that kind of role in a while, if ever.
Yeah, no, I am excited about it. Lead is in September, the 12th to the 15th. It's just a great opportunity for us to showcase our tech stack and, get together with dealers, ultimately continue to drive those relationships that are important. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's exciting, right? I mean, we haven't had a Toshiba dealer meeting since before the pandemic, a big one. I think these guys, they've had them from a few of the other vendors, some at full scale, some sort of, still doing smaller ones. But I think all the dealers just are really, the common theme is we just want to be normal again, right? And you having a lead conference or whatever you call it this year. In the past, you called it lead.
Yes.
That's normal. That gets them back to business. When you have whatever it is, 800 or 1,000 people, at these hotels, and generally Las Vegas, I prefer somewhere else. But, usually a lot of the times our meetings, because of the size, right? They have to be there. There's not a lot of places that can accommodate groups like this. But man, when you get these dealers out to Vegas, and especially when, they haven't had one in a while, I can tell you just from one I came from recently, it was a great show. Like they were happy to be there. They were happy to see each other. The Toshiba dealer is just like anyone else. They're buddies. It's right.
Yeah, I was out in Utah with our dealer group for a trip, and the energy of getting back together, I think, is always good. But the fact that we haven't been getting together in person, it seemed to take it up a notch. So I'm expecting the same thing at Lead in September.
Yeah, it's not as bad now, but earlier on, man, we came out of the gate hot, and some of these guys, the bar tabs were crazy the first couple months back, and I think it's gotten back to normal now. People aren't as insane as they were at the beginning, but we crave, we're social beings, especially in this industry where, I joke around a lot, but it's probably true. It was true with me. Most people in this industry are in there because we didn't study hard enough, right? We were social. We were great at hanging out and talking to people when we were younger in school for me. But I came out and I sold copiers because I couldn't, I was a history major. What else was I going to do? Right. So, but that's the kind of people you tend to get, the ones who stay in this industry. They're social. They can talk to people. The gift of gab is the way it's been phrased to me. Right. So, when you're able to, keep a conversation going, to get a customer or prospect talking to you, it's really, it helps you as a salesperson. So before we wrap up, I do want to, if there's anything that you can share with us, I'm sure you've had some thoughts. What are some things that, you've done over at TBS that maybe you'd like to see brought over to the dealer side that you think maybe they haven't done yet, they haven't thought of, or just haven't taken the initiative? Are there any things that you see that might fit?
Well, I think our dealer group is doing a lot of the same things that our direct business is doing. I do think that some of the resources we have, I think, I was trying to think of things we can help bring to dealers, is some of the infrastructure we have around managed print.
Managed print's a big one. Yep.
And TBS is very good at managed print, and there's infrastructure built around it that I think we can help dealers with that business.
I think content management too. You guys are you mentioned you're all going. I mean, you're the president of Toshiba. You're going to a DocuWork conference, right?
Yes.
And we're not going to see probably a lot of people at your level at that, but you're going to see. I was blown away with how many Toshiba people I saw at the DocuWork conference last year. And the irony is, without getting into it, we all know who owns them now.
Yes.
And which is a competitor of yours, but that doesn't stop you from using a great product, right? I mean, I didn't see any pullback at all.
We're their largest reseller in the US.
And you're still the largest, and it's been years since then. So, kudos to them for not messing that up, and kudos for you for not jumping off a great product just because you don't like the name of the company who owns them, right?
Yep.
How many people do you think you're sending down to that? Do you have any estimate?
Yeah, about 30. Yep. Yep. Yeah,
You were. It was like a mini Toshiba conference last year. I couldn't believe it. Every time I turned around, it was another Toshiba. I saw Megan and gosh, I can't even remember who else I saw down there.
Peter Davey, yeah.
I did see Peter Davey. I always had my rugby conversation with Peter, and you guys had a huge crew down there, and I was not expecting that. So, but that's the point.
That's another area we can help some of our dealer partners that maybe just starting out in content management. We've actually done that. Even before I took this role, I had a dealer in our Rochester office, helping them with business plans on developing a business plan to get in.
So that's a big one, right? And before we wrap up, that the dealer diversification is the big buzzword, right? That's one of the trends. They all know, they all know that they should probably find something else to fill in if and when print starts to slide on them. Use your print revenue to fund
Yep.
what that next thing might be for you, whether it's, print management, which is
Yep.
really a nice fit, right? Or the document management, content management, the DocuWare model, that fits right in with what you're already doing as a dealer. So obviously a nice easy, I wouldn't say easy, but a nice peripheral move that your reps might be able to kind of understand because they're already scanning, they're already
Yep.
working with this. So I do like that one, and you certainly are. The OEMs all jumped on something. This company did this, and that company did, displays. Well, you did displays too, but you were one of the first ones, I think, to really gravitate towards that document management way back when, and it wasn't always DocuWare. You had multiple partners. Some of them kind of got swallowed up and went away. But for the most part, DocuWare has just emerged as the one, right? And
Yep.
it's been neat watching it.
We use it
You did.
internally too.
What's that?
We use it heavily internally too.
Yeah, well, it's a good product, right? It keeps you, it keeps everything organized. It keeps it keeps you pretty safe. The security on it is important. Keeps your documents accessible, and especially nowadays with people in remote offices and working hybrid, it makes it much easier for them to do their job. I'll give you a little lead right now. My wife is at Chilai, the Chilai School District, Churchville Chilai School District, and it was kind of funny not funny, but during the pandemic, the beginning, when they were locked out, she had to do her work, and it was, it was all in paper files, right? So she would have to either go and get let in to the building, or sometimes if it was just something on the network, she'd drive to the school, sit in the parking lot to get on the Wi-Fi so she could get her files, right? And this isn't common to just her school. I think there's a lot of schools and companies and organizations that probably haven't figured it out yet, and maybe they're like, well, we got past that, we're fine, but a little reminder never hurts that, what are you going to do if it happens again? Are your people cut off from their files? How did that affect you? So I do think that's a great opportunity, and you guys with DocuWare really are just well positioned for that. So
somebody at that school will be getting a call tomorrow. So.
Yeah, was it Churchville, Chilai?
It's interesting you say that, it's a big push now to get into ancillary businesses, and, I see that and read about that. But I will say, when I was thinking back to 2000 when, the cutoff, the big, or the millennium cutover, and everybody said the big push back then was if you didn't control the network, you'd lose all the devices as we were going from analog to digital. I had an IT business. I had a commercial AV business wrapped inside Business Methods. It was the push was back on all the way back then.
Yeah.
I would say this, that the one thing I learned, in our Business Methods grew from about 10, 12 million to, we sold it was around 29 million. I don't want to say I regret, that's too strong a word, but as small businesses, you only have so much time, energy, and capital. And I think I got into a few too many things. So
it helps to focus.
It helps to focus. Taking on additional things is definitely necessary. Looking back, I'd probably say I would have maybe one less would have been helpful. But I think it's, it's an interesting time in our industry.
It is always, right? It just speeds up, and it gets crazier and crazier as we keep going. And I am still waiting for that paperless office to get here. It's
they were saying that back then too.
Yeah, right. They were, and it's just not going to happen anytime soon. At least if you look at my desk, the part that you can't see right now. So it's not something that's on the horizon, but customers do want to digitize. They do want, and again, back to the DocuWare, it's perfect for, I think that'd be a great product for you to build upon with the dealers. They're already, you're already providing that to them. You're already, you have a huge program around it, and just to put some more energy and, bring some of the knowledge that you have from that side of the house over, that's got to be super valuable. So this is great. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I really appreciate it. Maybe if it gets warm enough and stops raining for 5 seconds, we'll get out there. I'll maybe play a little golf.
Love to. Well, I'll see you, maybe I'll
We'll see
grab
you this
you
week.
tomorrow
I'll
night.
see you in. I'll have I won't see you when you're 10 minutes down the road, but I will see you in Orlando. So
All right.
safe travels down there. Thanks so much for taking the time, and I'll see you in Florida.